It was many, 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 many years ago. I don't know exactly how many. And the show was called Mike and Mike in the Morning. And I was one of the guys named Mike talking. And Joe Gibbs decided he was going to come back and coach in Washington, a football team that had a different name then and is now known as the Commanders, that he was going to return as the coach. And a big deal was made of this for a number of reasons. One of them being that he was one of the greatest coaches of all time, so much so that he had already been inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And people made a big deal of this. How can we have him be in the Hall of Fame if he's going to come out of retirement and coach? And I said, well, why in the world can't a coach be in the Hall of Fame? What's the difference? What's the point of waiting? Mike Tomlin is going to the Hall of Fame. Put him in now. Bill Belichick, I would have said a year ago, is going to the Hall of Fame. Put him in now. Andy Reid is going to the Hall of Fame. Put him in now. Why are we waiting for the conclusion of their coaching careers? They've clearly already established themselves as Hall of Fame coaches. Well, the first step, I said that, whatever year that was, is that 20 years ago? Bubba, it's got to be close.
Yeah,
what
he
year
came
did he
back in 2004.
2004, so it's 20 years ago that I said that. Well, their Pro Football Hall of Fame 20 years later is tiptoeing in my direction. The Hall of Fame announced a series of changes to its annual selection process on Friday, including the reduction of the waiting period for coaches from 5 seasons to 1 season, which means Bill Belichick will be eligible as soon as 2026 to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. The selection for the class of 2025, the selection process for the class of 2025 is already underway, presumably indicating that Belichick will not be eligible for next summer's induction, according to Pro Football Talk and other reports. Under the new rules, one coach will be named a finalist for each Hall of Fame class. Belichick would seem to be a shoo-in for that. Under the old rules, he would not have been eligible until the class of 2029. Now, let me bring this up. It says here, he seems a shoo-in unless he takes another coaching job. So let me ask you this. If Bill Belichick, at some point here, decides to become the coach of the Dallas Cowboys or the New York Giants or any other team that may have an opening and be interested in him, why on God's green earth should that have any impact on when he gets into the Hall of Fame? It's not going to give him any unfair advantage. It's not going to put him at any disadvantage. There's nothing in the world that should prevent him from going into the Hall of Fame. In fact, if he coaches until he's 78, 79 years old, which he could, I mean, the old 5-year waiting period, you're running a real risk of these guys not living to see it. I wish Bill nothing but health and a long life, and hopefully he'll be with us a very long time. But we all understand when you get to a certain age, those things become considerations. So a 5-year waiting period was terrible, just an absolutely unnecessary thing that could easily wind up costing someone the opportunity to live that experience and costing their family the opportunity to live it with them. So I'm happy they cut it to 1 year, but I would say we still have to go full Greeny on this. Bubba and Cam, give me one good reason why Bill Belichick should not already be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think for guys like Belichick, it should be, whenever you want to put him in the Hall of Fame, put him in. I think some guys, it requires a little bit of retrospective on their career. Give it a couple years, see how we view it retroactively. If, we have new perspective or, context to their career that adds anything to it in those coming years. But for guys like Belichick, who are obviously going in no matter what, I don't see why there's a waiting period. But for other guys, I can understand why there's that little bit of grace period to see how we might view their career differently or anything like that.
They do it in basketball. Let me make it 100% clear.
Yeah, that's right. I was just looking up. So
Greg Popovich is in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly. And they kind of do it a different way where they become eligible after 25 years of basically service, whether it's at high school or above, or 3 seasons after retirement.
I mean, Jerry Jones is in the Hall of Fame.
So Jerry Jones is in the Hall of Fame. That's 100% right. The owner of the Cowboys is in the Hall of Fame because he was eligible. The coach of the Cowboys, and this particular coach is not one of the people who would fall in that category, but Jimmy Johnson is in the Hall of Fame. Tom Landry is in the Hall of Fame. either or both of them. Well, Johnson would not have been a Hall of Famer at that time, but Tom Landry certainly would have been. Tom Landry, you would have put into the Hall of Fame years before they wound up firing him. So I don't see a single reason.